Hey all, and welcome back to Fuzzy Dutcher Gaming and a new video on the channel. What I thought I would do as maybe a last Lightning Strike video is what I've done in previous leagues, I didn't do it last league, is try and build a Lightning Strike character for less than 2 Exalts or 2 Divines. Except this time I wanted to try and get it cheaper and maybe squeeze under 1 Divine. I failed very slightly just because there isn't really a way of getting a cheap glove base, and I wanted a half decent 6-link base, so those things alone cost me sort of 70 and 80C. So then with the rest of the build, I think it hits out at 189 chaos in total for the whole build. And that's including any chaos crafts that have got to go on the gear and any essences that I've bought to craft it. The only other cost other than that is some alchemies. I've included the cost of the chromes to recolor gear and stuff like that. So it's just a bit over 1 divine, but under 200C. And it's comfortably doing tier 16 maps, guardians, conquerors. It would do Cirrus fairly comfortably if you know the fight. It might be a little bit slow. And it could probably do Uber Elder and Maven if you know the fights. But really what this is designed for, it's not designed for that. It's designed for if you're playing Lightning Strike and you're really struggling, but you've got a couple of hundred chaos sitting around. I wanted to show you guys how to build a character so that you can then comfortably do whatever farming method you want to attempt. So I'll run through the gear. I'll go through a couple of bits in the POB. There'll be some showcases flitting in and out as I'm talking just to show how the build performs. I've done a couple of just Alch and Go T16 maps with my usual essences, harvest, expedition, and Exile influence. I've done a Maven influenced Phoenix map. The boss took a while because Maven kept healing him, which is a bit of a pain, but we still got it done. And then I did a Exile influenced Guardian map that also had Hinder and Beyond, and it got through that with fair few difficulties. So I'm comfortable saying that this character is kind of end game farming viable unless you're doing stuff like 5 Deliorbs or something silly. But for general Alch and Go mapping with whatever passives you want on your Atlas tree, this gear would do the trick. Now, I haven't gone and bought gems because this is really designed for people who are already playing Lightning Strike. If you wanted to do this from scratch and you wanted to buy all the gems, then obviously you're going to have to factor in the costs. But I haven't got any Awakened gems or anything. They're bog standard. And they're obviously now leveled up to 2020 because I've been playing for quite a bit. And just a bog standard 20 val Lightning Strike, no like 2120 or anything like that. So no Awakened gems. All the gems are bog standard. And the Lethal Pride, I've got nothing on it that's any good really. I mean, you've got bits like a little bit of armor and a little bit of strength or whatever. But I just bought the cheapest one on there because I know a lot of people find it difficult to buy Lethal Pride. So I thought I don't want to go spending loads of time searching for one that's got loads of good stats on it. I'll just buy one, stick it in. If I get something great, if not, we take it and we move on. It eases our requirements in terms of strength, and whatever you get most of the time, it's going to be useful. Like strength is good, melee damage is okay, reduced damage from crit is okay, fizz damage is garbage, armor. So, you know, they're stats that you might as well have for a jewel that costs 20C or 25C, whatever the cheapest one costs. And I've taken Pierce on the tree. The only other jewel I've got is a 9% attack speed jewel, but it's not got any life on it, so this would be fairly cheap as well. And that's it. This is the tree. It's kind of bog standard. There'll be a POB in the description. So how do you go about building a character cheap when some stuff seems to be so expensive? So we'll start with the claw. This is a fractured claw with very high lightning damage, cold damage, and crit chance. This cost me 26 chaos to buy and craft. The reason being, I've settled for a base that is slightly suboptimal, but not by a lot. Basically, instead of having 1.6 attacks per second, which Imperial Claw has, it has 1.5. It's got 50 gains per hit, which is actually higher. So it's actually a really nice claw. So what I did to find this base was I went on to trade. So actually, we'll do it now. And I'll just go and prove. I mean, I've got all the footage anyway, which I'll show in and out of me buying the items. But I'll show you the trade to set up. I'm not going to include links because I don't want people to abuse this and then go and set up stuff without having to put any effort in whatsoever. So you go claw, you do tilde, which is like a wild card, and you do fracture, and then attack speed local. Set it to 20. What you also need to do, because you want to filter out all the trash 1.3 bases, is do attacks per second as a minimum of something like 1.75. You then need to do, although the wording is strange for claws, life gain per enemy hit by attacks. Okay. So this. So you want it to be that because you don't want to get those rubbish claws that are percentage leech. And I'll put something like 30 to filter out the really low trash bases. And then you don't want it to be corrupted. This is the search I did. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of claws for next to nothing. So I whispered quite a few that didn't respond and ended up paying 10C. Any of these claws will be absolutely fine for crafting something that's going to get you through the majority of the game. And as you can see, there's tons of them. It's not like I've gone in and bought the only one on the market. There are loads of these because fractured items drop quite a lot from Arch Nemesis monsters in other various sources. Only the like premium bases, maybe Imperial and Gemini, maybe Noble Claw, are worth any money, and the rest of them aren't. So I went in, bought one of these claws, and then I just crafted with Deafening Essences of Wrath. If you go for these in like massive bulk, they're probably about 5C each. If you just go in bits of 3 or 4 to people that might only have 4 essences, you can get them for 3 to 4C. So I ended up rolling 3 essences on this, and then I got what I wanted. Essentially, all I was looking for, I wanted crit chance because it's massive. I just wanted another type of damage, whether that is cold or fire, and I wanted crit chance. That's it. So I rolled this, and it had an open suffix and an open prefix. The physical damage wasn't on it. So I just crafted crit chance and then slammed an Exalt on it because you never know, you might hit fire damage and then you've got an amazing claw. I didn't hit physical damage, which is worthless, and so is the poison mod. But just the attack speed, crit, cold damage, and lightning damage make this claw really good. I think if you were to then, I could probably sell this claw for a couple of divines because it's got the stats that people want. That's how I did the claw, and that's how I'd recommend it if you want to get a cheap claw. Obviously, you're still at RNG to the essences, but you would be if you were just essence spamming a claw that wasn't fractured. This is the cheapest way to get a decent claw. And don't be picky. If it rolls, so this is rolled T3 cold, T4, T5, I'd accept, and cold and fire as long as you've got a way to craft crit. You might get super lucky and get crit and an Ellie roll and an open prefix to craft Ellie pen. You never know. So it's not going to cost you the world. I probably got lucky in 3 essences, but it's not going to cost you that much more just to get something that's going to get you going. We're not looking for like an amazing claw. We want something that can comfortably do T16 maps. Plus one strike gloves are coming down. I picked these up for 40C and they've got a fractured life roll on it. Obviously, don't aim for the fractured life. It just happened that it had fractured life on it. But there was plenty for around 40 to 50C. And all you're doing is rolling greed essences on these to get life and some other stats. I've crafted accuracy because I was a little bit under the cap. I think I'm still 1% under. I think I'm 99%. The jewelry is exactly as per my video. Get some bases. These are on my filters. They're not high bases. They're like item level 82. And then you craft them with Ellie damage essences. So you want either the fire damage to attacks, cold damage to attacks, or lightning damage to attacks. None of these are particularly brilliant. I just wanted to get some attributes and some resistances, and then I've crafted life on both of these. And then the amulet is really bad. I didn't want to spam too many essences. This was okay. It had a tiny bit of intelligence on it and some resistances. I've settled for that. The helmet, I've purchased an Anger Reservation Efficiency helmet. This was 4 chaos, I think I paid for it. It might be a bit more. That seemed quite cheap, so it might be 10 or 20. And again, I've just hit some greed essences on it until I hit something that I'm happy with. The reason I've gone for this is because I want to fit Defiance Banner in just to make the build a bit more tanky. That's the reason that there's mana crafted on this, and I happen to have mana on my belt, because even with those, I've got 105 mana. You could get away with having like 85 and 90. It's just the more the better. And the other thing to get around this is I've linked life tap up somewhere. To my Protector and my Whirling Blades, just so the only thing that costs mana is going to be my Precision and my Casting Damage Taken Molten Shell. The shield was 10C. You could try crafting this in Harvest, but I think for 10C you might as well buy it. I've just looked for Ailment Avoidance, Resistances, Open Prefix because the ones with life were more expensive, and then just crafted life. The belt was 4 chaos, and then I've crafted Ellie damage with attacks, and the boots were 1C, and I've crafted life. That's it. That's all the gear. It's nothing spectacular, but it does really, really perform well when you've got your tree set up. So you definitely need, and there's no reason you shouldn't anyway, all 4 Ascendancies because they all offer so much to the build. Other than that, there's not really any intricacies. I haven't done anything sneaky and tricky, other than just pass the gems over from my current character because I really don't want to go buying a whole set of gems just because these are qualityed. If you wanted to do this from scratch and buy the gems, quality, this is obviously going to be more. You can knock the quality off. If you didn't have that, the build would still perform absolutely fine. So that's kind of it for the setup. So I'm not going to include any trade links because I don't want people to maybe set up these on auto and then just like buy the whole market out and reprice it. If people want to do that, they're going to have to go through the effort of setting up the trades themselves. I've set it as a level 91 character, which I think I've already said. I think that's reasonable. It's not difficult to get to 91, especially if you've got this gear. Like I'm not really struggling at all in tier 16 maps, so there's no way you won't be able to get up to 91 without dying. If you are, there's probably something wrong with the way you're playing the game or playing the build. So what I think I'm going to do over the next few days is play this character. I'll go and try and take on all of the bosses again and see how it fares. So we'll try and do Maven, Uber Elder, Cirrus. We'll go and do the Pinnacle bosses. Do a couple of invitations to see how it gets on. I'm expecting deaths because the DPS is, you know, way under half of what my current character is. But my current character's probably got 12 to 15 divines invested in it. This has got just over 1. So that's it for the video. Just really wanted to give people an idea of maybe a couple of places where you can get some cheaper items, and just to show that this is not a build at this stage of the league that takes any budget whatsoever to get going. Even if you were to level up a character from scratch, the only thing you'll be missing is the quality on your gems. You'll still be able to breeze through your map progression, and by the time you get sort of mid-80s, you're going to be able to go and tackle sort of T14 plus maps. You could also get some pierce on your gear, because I haven't. Frees up 3 points there. So you can go up here, get a bit more life and damage, or you could do, you know, whatever you want with those points. So there'll be a showcase after, which is just a full Elder Guardian map that I did with Hinder and Beyond on it, just to show how the build performs. The DPS is obviously not outstanding, but your burst DPS when you got your Val up is probably 4 to 5 million. So before we sign off, I'll just go into the POB and run through sort of the stats that you can expect to see on the character for this sort of investment. This full DPS is set up assuming everything is up. So this is not going to be your constant DPS. But when you time your bursts on bosses, you're going to have your flask, your totem, and you're going to have both your Vile Lightning Strikes. And that's what this number here takes into account. So let's say when you're mapping, you won't have your totem up. And you're not going to have your Vile Lightning Strikes as your DPS. So you can just remove this from the full DPS. So even when you're mapping on single target without your totem down and without your Vile Lightning Strike, you're still nearly at 2 million DPS, which is pretty awesome. I have got Blood Rage in. It's optional whether you run that, because obviously you're life tapping a few of your skills. Might cause you a few issues, so it might be something to consider dropping. But again, it's not going to take the build below DPS that's capable of kind of farming tier 16 maps. Yeah, so this POB is going to be in the description if people wanted to check like stats of gear and maybe look at where they might be able to get items for cheap. Other than that, that's kind of the video. I will try and bring an update one out if I get a chance to kind of use this character to go and do some endgame content. It just depends whether I get tempted by another build. We'll just have to wait and see. But as always, thanks for watching. Take care and see you in the next one.